Welcome back to another video with Hugh James, and I'm joined today by Simon Ellis, who you've all met before, and we're going to do a recap over the Camp LeJeune claims. And as with all the videos, nobody wants to listen to me waffling, so we'll hand over to Simon. So just recap us, Simon, about the claims and what is the purpose of the claims in regards to Camp LeJeune.
Well, the background to Camp LeJeune, it's a base operated by the US Marines in obviously the US, and it's now been established that there were issues and problems with the drinking water there from the 50s all the way through to the 80s. And as a result of that, a number of individuals have now developed quite a wide range of different illnesses, which appear to be attributable to the time they spent at Camp LeJeune and the water that they drank during that time. So this action has really come about as a result of that. There's been a campaign in the US for some time about this, and it came to bear fruit when President Biden passed some legislation to enable claims to be brought in a fairly fixed window for those who suffered as a result of being at Camp LeJeune.
Okay, and I think we spoke the back end of last summer originally when we did the first video, so just give us an update on what's kind of happened over that time frame.
Well, since that time, quite a large number of claims have been brought for reasons that are obvious. That's predominantly been on behalf of US military personnel, but not exclusively so. Clearly this applies to anybody who's served at Camp LeJeune, and a large number of US allies and the armed forces of the allies probably have done that. So quite a large number of claims have been brought. Initial steps have been taken to start progressing those through, but the focus at the moment very much is on ensuring that those who may have a claim register it in time before the cut-off date.
Yeah, and in terms of the conditions then that somebody could claim for, give us some examples and some details on that.
They're conditions that you wouldn't necessarily automatically associate with drinking water, so that they're quite wide ranging. It's quite a large number of cancers that are being implicated in this. Parkinson's disease has been implicated, even various birth defects. They're all serious illnesses. In some cases they've proven fatal, but there's such a wide range of them that it's difficult to sort of be more specific than that. Certainly many forms of cancer and a number of other conditions like that have been implicated in it.
Okay, and in terms of who can claim, I guess then, is this limited to US military personnel or is it a wider scope?
No, it's anybody who's served at Camp LeJeune, and obvious reasons US personnel will have been there to a very significant degree, but it's known, for example, in the UK that various members of the UK Armed Forces have gone to Camp LeJeune for various reasons, and if they meet the entry criteria, they would qualify in order to bring a claim at the present time as well.
Okay, and you mentioned there briefly about the time frame, basically the range from the 50s to the 80s, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on. But that's a long time ago. So what if somebody's unfortunately passed away now? Could a claim still be brought on their behalf?
I think that's one of the key messages to drive home about this litigation, because you're quite right in what you say. The conditions that people developed were serious, they were often fatal, and a number of the individuals who may have been at Camp LeJeune and passed away as a result of those illnesses may have been no longer with us, may have passed away 10, 20, 30 years ago. And it's not an immediate leap to think, you know, my dad or my grandparents had, let's say, lung cancer, and they served at Camp LeJeune 30, 40 years before, therefore there must be a link. So that's the important point to stress here, is a claim can be brought by someone who is living, but it can also be brought on behalf of a deceased individual by their next of kin, the trustee of their estate, usually a family member, and those claims can be brought even though that individual may have died many, many years ago.
And I think it probably gets quite complicated here. So keeping on that same example, so if somebody has passed away, and you use an example there, lung cancer, what if that individual had been told that the lung cancer was attributed to something else, but they had served in Camp LeJeune? Could somebody from the family or estate still bring a claim even though they've been told that the illness was for something else?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, for the reasons we explained earlier on, when someone develops, let's say, lung cancer, they may not automatically recall their time at Camp LeJeune, which could have been for a very short period of time, recall drinking the water there and draw the link between the two. And to be fair, that their GP, their treating doctors in this country, are unlikely to have done that as well. So when they're searching for causes as to what may have caused this, it's not going to be top of their list. The key point to bear in mind here is the only real criteria that people need to be concerned about is that they served at Camp LeJeune for the minimum period of time and had the condition, and really, irrespective of what they may have been told since about what may have caused that, that doesn't matter. That the only real significant factor is that they had the condition and they served at Camp LeJeune.
Okay. And what about the time limits then? So we've just touched on them briefly, but what is the time limits for processing a claim?
Well, the legislation that's been enacted in the US opened a 2-year window for people to bring a claim. It doesn't have to be concluded by that time, but it has to be lodged within that period.
Started.
That's right, and that will finish in August of next year. So August 2024 is the cut-off date. After that, even if you try and bring a claim, unless there's a further change in law and the deadline is extended, which at the minute seems very unlikely, then it will be too late at that point in time. So again, the main message to get home is if anyone does think they may have a potential claim, they need to get it in before August of next year. August 2024 is the cut-off point, and after that, it will be too late.
Okay, so this is pretty much your 12-month warning order then, this video.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's talk about the qualifying criteria then. So what criteria would somebody have to meet to be able to bring a claim?
The only real qualifying criteria is that someone has to have spent a minimum of 30 days at Camp LeJeune, and it's between the early 50s, around 1953 and 1987. Those 30 days don't have to be consecutive days, so it could be that someone has gone over from the UK for an exercise, a shooting competition, anything like that, may only have been for 2 weeks. But if they've done that more than once, then and the cumulative total is 30 days, that's the gateway criteria. And so long as they've got one of the conditions that fall within this, that's all that's needed to be established.
Okay. And if somebody thinks they've meet the criteria for a claim, or somebody within their family meets the criteria for the claim, for bringing the claim, what's their next steps now?
Well, Hugh, James, we clearly are assisting a number of people who have registered an interest in this. We have contacts with attorneys in the US who are dealing with that side of it. So my main message to anyone who's thinking about this, get in touch as soon as possible, pass on the details. We can then advise on whether we think there is a possible claim, and we can take the necessary steps to get the documents that are needed, get any evidence that's needed, and then ensure that the contacts we have in the US get those lodged. The priority, as I've said, is to get the claim lodged. We can deal with any further evidence after that. But as I said, after August of next year, it will be too late.
Yeah, so time-sensitive issue, really
very much
issue.
So, very much so.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks very much for the recap and the update and bringing the information to the front again. To reiterate, 12 months left to go, August 2024, the limit for the claim. So thanks very much, Simon, for joining us today and taking time out of your busy day.
No, thank you, Scott.
Thanks.